Hyun stood on the back porch of his family's countryside home. The fresh air filled his lungs. This was his first break from military duty in 6 months. As a member of South Korea's special forces, days off were rare. The evening sky turned a deep orange as the sun set behind the mountains. Hyun sipped his tea, enjoying the quiet. His phone lay inside, turned off. For once, the world could wait. Then the birds stopped singing. Hyun noticed the silence first. His years of training had taught him to pay attention to small changes. He looked up and froze. The sky was changing. Dark shapes appeared above the clouds. Not planes, not weather. These shapes were massive, blocking the sunset like moving islands in the sky. "Mother," Hyun called, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "Come outside now." His mother stepped onto the porch. Her cup fell from her hand when she looked up. "What are they?" she whispered. "I don't know," Hyun answered. He was already reaching for his phone. Across the world, the same scene played out. Giant ships appeared over major cities. Seoul, New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, all had visitors hanging in their skies. The world's militaries scrambled jets. Missiles were readied. For 3 hours, the ships just waited, silent and still. Then they spoke. Every screen on Earth, phones, computers, televisions, showed the same image. A tall, thin figure with pale blue skin and large black eyes looked out at humanity. "People of Earth," the figure said in perfect, unaccented language that somehow everyone understood. "We are the Taral. We come in peace and friendship. We seek to exchange knowledge with promising young worlds. Your species has caught our interest." The message continued for 5 minutes. The Taral spoke of science, art, and medicine they could share. They called humans lesser evolved but highly promising. They asked to meet Earth's leaders. World governments argued about what to do. Some wanted to attack, others wanted to welcome the visitors. In the end, caution won. A meeting was arranged in neutral Switzerland. Hyun's phone rang at 2 a.m. "Lieutenant Hyun," said the voice of Captain Sun. "Report to base immediately. You've been selected for a special assignment." 6 hours later, Hyun stood in a briefing room, with 20 other elite soldiers from around the world. "You will form the security detail for the first human Taral meeting," Captain Sun explained. "Your job is to watch, listen, and report anything unusual. Do not engage unless ordered." Yinder. Team flew to Geneva that afternoon. The meeting was set for the next day. Hyun couldn't sleep that night. He stood at his hotel window looking at the massive ship hanging over Lake Geneva. Its surface showed no lights, no windows, no signs of life. Yet he felt watched. Morning came. The international security team took positions in the meeting hall. World leaders arrived with their advisors. At exactly noon, a beam of light appeared outside the building. 3 Taral stepped out of the light. They were taller than humans, nearly 7 feet, with long limbs and delicate movements. Their skin ranged from pale blue to deep purple. Their faces had no nose, just breathing slits, and their large eyes were entirely black. The tallest Taral stepped forward. "I am Speaker Kell, voice of the Taral High Council. We thank you for this meeting." The human representatives welcomed them. Formal. Speeches were made. Promises of friendship and exchange were offered. The meeting seemed to go well, but Hyun noticed things. Small things. The Taral never blinked. When humans weren't looking directly at them, their faces changed. The friendly expressions dropped away, replaced by cold study. They watched humans, like scientists watch lab rats. During a break, Hyun positioned himself near the Taral delegates. His military implant could pick up electrical signals. It was designed to intercept enemy communications, but he hoped it might catch something from the aliens. At first, he heard nothing. Then, as 2 Tarals stood close together, his implant buzzed. Words formed in his mind, broken and incomplete. "Specimens are promising, adaptable, predatory instinct, underdeveloped, useful, collection will begin, sleep cycle, resistance expected, Minimal. Hyun's heart raced. He kept his face calm as he slowly moved away. What? Had he just heard collection specimens? The friendly words of the Terrell delegates didn't match these fragments. When the meeting ended, Hyun requested an immediate private discussion with Captain Sun. What did you hear exactly? Sun asked after Hyun reported. Not enough to be sure, Hyun admitted. But they spoke of us as specimens, not equals. They mentioned collection during sleep cycles. Sun's face darkened. I noticed their eyes. They watch us like predators watch prey. What do we do? Hyun asked. We report up the chain. And we prepare, Sun said. Double the night watch. Alert all teams globally. If they try anything, we need to be ready. That night, Hyun couldn't sleep again. He stood guard outside the rooms of South Korea's representatives. The massive ship still hung in the sky, silent and dark. At 3:17 a.m., all communications went dead. Phones, radios, internet. Everything stopped working at once. Hyun's military implant burned hot in his skull. He doubled over in pain as it received a signal far stronger than it was designed to handle. Through the window, he saw beams of light shooting down from the ship. Not one or two, hundreds of beams covering the city. Where each beam touched, people floated upward still in their night clothes, sleeping and unaware. Hyun tried to call for help, but no one could hear him. He ran to wake the representatives, but the doors to their rooms were already open. Their beds were empty. The pain in his head grew worse. The last thing Hyun saw was the ceiling of the hallway as his body lifted off the ground. Then darkness took him. He awoke in a cell. White walls, white floor, white ceiling. No doors or windows visible. A clear barrier separated him from an identical cell across a narrow corridor. In that cell sat Captain Sun, watching him with steady eyes. Lieutenant, Sun said, voice muffled by the barrier. It seems we were right to be concerned. Hyun nodded. Where are we? I believe we're on one of their ships, Sun replied. And I don't think we're alone. Hyun looked down the corridor. It curved gently out of sight. On both sides, cells stretched as far as he could see. In each one, a human sat or stood or lay, confused and afraid. What do they want with us? Hyun asked. Sun's eyes were hard. We're about to find out. But remember your training. Remember who you are. What do you mean? They think we're prey, Sun said quietly. Let's show them how wrong they are. 3 months passed, or maybe it was 4. Time was hard to track in the white cells with no day or night. Hyun had counted 108 meals since his capture. The food arrived through a slot in the wall, a gray paste that tasted like nothing but kept him alive. Each day he exercised in the small space, keeping his body strong. Captain Sun did the same in his cell across the corridor. They had tried to communicate, but the barriers muffled sound too much for complex conversation. They relied on hand signals and facial expressions, a simple code they had developed. Today was different. Hyun woke to find the clear barrier of his cell gone. A doorway had appeared in the once solid wall. Move, said a voice in his head. The word wasn't spoken. It simply existed in his mind. Hyun stood alert but calm. In the corridor stood a Terrell guard. It was taller than the delegates he had seen on Earth, with broader shoulders and darker skin. It carried no visible weapons, but its black eyes watched Hyun with cold intelligence. Follow, came the command in his mind. Hyun stepped into the corridor. Other cell doors were open too. Humans emerged, looking confused and afraid. Captain Sun joined the line, giving Hyun a subtle nod. The guard led them through curved corridors that all looked the same. They passed other groups of aliens. Some looked nearly human, while others were completely foreign in shape and movement. All were being led by Terrell guards. Finally, they entered a vast circular room. The ceiling was so high that Hyun couldn't see it clearly. The walls curved away into the distance. The room must have been the size of a small city. Inside were environments, sections of the huge space made to look like different worlds. One area was dense jungle, another was desert. A third looked like an Earth City street. Dozens more stretched beyond his vision. "Welcome to the collection," said a new voice in their minds. A Terrell stepped forward, smaller than the guard, but with elaborate markings on its blue skin. "I am Keeper Voss. You are now part of the greatest living museum in the galaxy." The humans murmured among themselves. Hyun remained silent, watching. "You will be trained, studied, and eventually assigned duties." Keeper Voss continued. "Your species has potential that interests us. Cooperate and your lives will be comfortable. Resist and you will be corrected." The humans were divided into smaller groups. Hyun was separated from Captain Sun. His group of 20 was led to an area that looked like an Earth training facility, exercise equipment, obstacle courses, and various tools. A female Taral waited for them. "I am Trainer Zell," her voice said in their minds. "You will now begin physical assessment." For hours, they were tested, running, climbing, lifting, solving puzzles. Hyun held back, not showing his full abilities. The years of Special Forces training had taught him to reveal nothing to a potential enemy. As they worked, Hyun studied the other humans. Most were ordinary citizens, but a few moved with military precision. One woman caught his attention. She completed each task efficiently, her face showing no emotion. Like him, she seemed to be hiding her true capabilities. When the assessment ended, they were led to new quarters, a shared space with 20 small sleeping rooms around a common area. It was more comfortable than the cells, with actual beds and facilities that resembled Earth bathrooms. Once the Taral left, the humans began talking all at once. Fear, anger, and confusion filled the room. Hyun stayed quiet, observing. The woman, he had noticed, approached him. "You're military," she said softly. "South Korean Special Forces, I think." Hyun studied her. "And you?" "Me," she said. "North Korean intelligence." In another time, they would have been enemies. Here, they were just humans. "Hyun," he replied. "How long have you been awake?" 2 weeks longer than you, Mi said. "I've learned some things. They call this ship the Harvest. It travels the galaxy collecting species they find interesting. We're not the first humans here. There are others who were taken earlier during test runs." "What do they want with us?" Hyun asked. Mi's eyes darkened. "They're collectors. They take species they consider useful. Some become workers. Others are trained for combat to serve the Toral. A few are kept as study specimens." She paused. "They think we're weak but teachable. They call Earth a moderate challenge world that produces adaptable beings. Have you seen any way out? Any weakness in their security?" Mi shook her head. "Not yet, but there's something else you should know. Tomorrow they'll start the conditioning process, neural implants to make us more cooperative." Hyun's hand went to the back of his neck, feeling the small bump where his military implant sat beneath the skin. "Will it work?" "Not as well as they think," Mi said with the ghost of a smile. The first group of humans surprised them. The standard conditioning process didn't take properly. "Our brains aren't like the other species they've collected. We resist differently." The next morning, Hyun and 5 others were taken to a medical facility. The walls were curved and smooth like everything Taral, but the tables and equipment looked disturbingly similar to Earth hospitals. A Taral with light green skin directed Hyun to lie on a table. "This will not hurt," the voice said in his mind. "You will be improved." Cold metal touched the back of Hyun's neck. He felt pressure, then a strange warmth spreading through his skull. Images flashed in his mind, Taral symbols, commands, rules. He was supposed to accept them, let them become part of him. Instead, Hyun did what he had been trained to do under torture. He created a mental space where the intrusion couldn't reach, a room in his mind where he remained himself. The Taral scientists seemed confused. They spoke to each other in their own language, but Hyun caught fragments through his military implant. Neural patterns irregular. Resistance unexpected. Adjust parameters. They tried again. This time the pressure was stronger. Hyun fought to maintain his mental sanctuary. After what seemed like hours, they stopped. Hyun was returned to the shared quarters. The other 5 looked dazed, their eyes unfocused. But as the hours passed, they began to recover. That night, Hyun found me sitting alone in the common area. "They can't control us completely," he whispered. "Not like they want to." Me nodded. "Humans evolved as pursuit predators. Our minds developed to outthink prey, to plan, to adapt. The Tyrell conditioning is designed for species with simpler mental patterns. We can use this," Hyun said. "We can resist." "Not just resist," Me replied. "Fight back. There are others like us throughout this ship, other humans who've kept their minds, and other species who've been fighting in small ways for generations." Hyun looked at her with new respect. "You've been building a network." Me smiled, a predator's smile. "The Tyrell think they're collecting interesting specimens. They don't realize they've brought together the most dangerous minds in the galaxy." For the first time since his capture, Hyun felt something like hope. "When do we start?" "We already have," Me said. "Tomorrow you'll meet the others. The Tyrell think Earth is a world of prey." Her eyes gleamed in the dim light. "They're about to learn how wrong they are." 6 months had passed since Hyun's abduction. The white rooms and curved corridors no longer seemed strange to him. He had learned to navigate the massive Tyrell ship, memorizing paths and security patterns. Today, Hyun walked with purpose toward Section 7, an area designated for technical training. The Tyrell guards paid little attention to him. His conditioning implant showed normal readings on their scanners. They didn't know that Me had helped him modify it to send false signals. Inside Section 7, Hyun entered a small room filled with equipment. 3 humans waited for him. Me stood by a table covered with Tyrell devices. Beside her was Jin, a thin man who had been a physics professor in Seoul before his capture. The third person was Dae, a woman with short hair and watchful eyes. "You're late," Me said. 2 guards on the north corridor," Hyun explained. "I had to take the long way." Jin looked up from the device he was working on. "Did anyone follow you?" Hyun shook his head. "No. How is the project coming?" Jin held up a small silver disc. "It works. I've modified this communication node to tap into the Tyrell database. We can access basic information now." This was a major victory. For months, the human resistance had worked to understand their captors. Small groups across the ship shared what they learned, building a network of knowledge. Today they might finally get real answers. Jin pressed the disc against a wall panel. The silver circle glowed blue, then merged with the wall. Tyrell symbols appeared, floating in the air. "I can read some of this now," Me said. She studied the symbols. "These are species classifications. The Tyrell organize all life forms they encounter into categories." "Where are humans listed?" Hyun asked. Me's fingers moved through the floating symbols, searching. "Here, Earth is classified as..." Her face darkened. "A prey world." "What does that mean?" Dae asked. Jin adjusted the disc, bringing up more information. "According to this, the Tyrell divide all intelligent species into predators and prey. It's the foundation of their empire. They place themselves at the top, the ultimate predators." Me continued reading. "They categorized Earth as a prey world because humans lack natural weapons, no claws, weak teeth, no armor or venom. They see us as physically inferior." Hyun frowned. "They missed the point of what makes humans dangerous." "Exactly," Jin said, excitement in his voice. "Look at this data. The Tyrell have been running combat simulations with captured humans. They're confused because we consistently outperform their predictions against stronger opponents." The floating display showed recordings of humans in training exercises. One man, much smaller than his alien opponent, used the environment to gain advantage. A woman turned her opponent's strength against it with swift movements. Others worked in teams to overcome superior forces. The Tyrell note these as interesting but ultimately irrelevant behavioral anomalies, Jin read. They don't understand what they're seeing. Day, who had been quietly watching, finally spoke. They don't recognize our predatory nature because it doesn't look like theirs. Humans didn't evolve physical weapons because we developed something more powerful. Our minds, Mi said. We became pursuit predators. We hunted by outsmarting prey, tracking them until they collapsed from exhaustion. We used tools instead of claws, strategy instead of raw strength. Hyun thought about his military training. The endless exercises in problem-solving, adaptation, and using the environment. The psychological aspects of combat. Earth's military history was full of smaller forces defeating larger ones through superior strategy. The Tyrell have built their entire empire on a fundamental mistake, Hyun said. They think predatory nature comes from biological weapons. They missed that humanity's greatest predatory traits are psychological and social. The disc suddenly flashed red. Jin quickly pulled it from the wall. Security scan, they'll detect the breach soon, we need to move. As they gathered their equipment, a message came through Hyun's implant. It was from Captain Sun, now working in another section of the ship. Emergency in Section 12. Humans scheduled for neural correction. 20 of ours. Hyun looked at the others. They're going to perform deep conditioning on 20 of our people. We need to stop it. How? Jin asked. We're not ready for direct confrontation. We don't need to confront them, Hyun said. We just need to divert them. A plan was already forming in his mind. Within 30 minutes, the small team had reached Section 12. Through their network, they gathered 10 more resistance members. Hyun quickly explained his plan. The Tyrell think in straight lines, he told them. Predator against prey, strength against weakness. We need to show them something different. They split into 3 groups. Mi led the first team to create a distraction in a nearby storage area. Jin took the second team to hack the security systems. Hyun, Dae, and 3 others would rescue the prisoners. When the alarms blared, announcing a containment breach in storage, Tyrell guards rushed to respond. Meanwhile, Jin's team temporarily disabled the security feeds in Section 12. Hyun's group moved quickly through the corridors. They reached the medical facility where the 20 humans waited, already sedated on tables. Tyrell medical staff looked up in surprise as Hyun's team entered. Now, Hyun said. Dae activated a small device Jin had built. The lights flickered. The Tyrell medical staff froze, their neural networks temporarily disrupted by the pulse. Working fast, Hyun's team moved the unconscious humans onto transport carts. They covered them with sheets and pushed them into the corridor. The plan was working. Then a security team appeared at the end of the hall. 6 Tyrell guards, armed and alert. Intruders, their leader said directly into the humans' minds. Surrender, Hyun looked at his small team, then at the Tyrell, each nearly 7 feet tall, physically superior in every way. Direct confrontation would mean capture or death, so Hyun did what humans had done for thousands of years when facing stronger opponents. He adapted. Run, he told his team. But instead of fleeing together, they scattered in different directions, creating confusion. The Tyrell hesitated, unsure which humans to pursue. Hyun grabbed a medical cart and sent it crashing into the corridor wall. Gas canisters exploded, filling the air with thick smoke. In the chaos, Dae and the others pushed the transport carts down side corridors. The Tyrell guards charged forward, expecting their prey to flee in fear. Instead, Hyun stood his ground. When the first guard reached him, Hyun didn't try to match its strength. He used its momentum against it, a technique from Earth's martial arts. The surprised Tyrell crashed into the wall. More guards approached. Hyun retreated strategically, leading them away from his team. He ducked into a maintenance shaft too small for the Tyrell to follow. Through the narrow tunnels he had mapped during months of careful exploration, he made his way back to safe territory. Hours later, in a hidden meeting room, the resistance leaders gathered. All 20 prisoners had been rescued and hidden throughout the ship. It was their most successful operation yet. The Tyrell are confused, Mi reported. Their security protocols are designed to stop direct attacks. They don't understand our approach. Today, they saw something new, Hyun said. They saw humans fighting not as prey but as the predators we truly are. Jin looked thoughtful. The Tyrell believe they're the galaxy's apex predators because of their physical capabilities. But they've never encountered a predator like humanity before. And what kind of predator is that? Dae asked. Hyun smiled grimly. The kind that hunts other predators. 1 year had passed since the first humans were taken from Earth. The massive Tyrell ship continued its journey through space, collecting specimens from other worlds. But inside the vessel, something unprecedented was happening. Hyun stood in a hidden room deep in the ship's maintenance section. Maps covered the walls, detailed drawings of the ship's systems and structure created piece by piece over months of careful observation. Around him stood the leaders of what had become a true resistance movement. Mi pointed to a section of the map. We now control access to these areas. The Tyrell still don't realize how much of their ship we can reach. Captain Sun, who had finally joined their group after months working separately, studied the maps with a soldier's eye. Our network has grown. We have contact with over 500 humans across the ship, and allies among other species. This was their greatest achievement. What began as survival had transformed into an organized rebellion. Humans throughout the ship communicated through a system of modified implants. They shared knowledge, planned operations, and slowly took control of key systems without the Tyrell noticing. Jin has something to show us, Hyun said. Jin stepped forward. The once timid professor now moved with confidence. A year of resistance had changed them all. I've been studying the neural conditioning technology, Jin said. The Tyrell use it to suppress independent thinking in their captives, but I believe I can reverse its function. What do you mean? Sun asked. Instead of suppressing our abilities, we can enhance them. Jin held up a small device. This modified neural link can accelerate human cognitive processing. It won't change who we are. Just allow our minds to work faster, process more information. Dae, who had become their expert on Tyrell psychology, looked concerned. Is it safe? I've tested it on myself, Jin said, for the past 2 weeks. The others looked at him with surprise. That explains how you broke the encryption so quickly, Meo said. Jin nodded. My mind works 5 times faster now. I can see patterns I couldn't before. Understand systems in ways that would have taken years of study. Hyun considered the implications. If we could give this advantage to key members of the resistance, we could take this ship, Sun finished. The plan was set. 20 resistance. Leaders would receive the enhanced neural links. They would then coordinate the largest operation yet, taking control of a command center that would give them access to internal communications throughout the vessel. As Jin prepared the first group for the procedure, Hyun spoke privately with me. The Tyrell will respond when they discover what we're doing, he said. This won't be like our small operations. They'll see us as a real threat. Mi's eyes were steady. Good. It's time they understood what they're dealing with. The procedures took 3 days to complete. Hyun was among the last to receive the enhancement. The experience was strange but not painful. When it activated, the world seemed to slow around him. His thoughts raced ahead, making connections, analyzing possibilities. He understood now why Jin had been so confident. With the enhancement, Hyun could process information at incredible speed. Battle strategies that would have taken hours to develop now formed in seconds. The ship's systems, once confusing, now made perfect sense. The 20 enhanced humans gathered to finalize their plan. They would move in 6 hours when the Tyrell shift change would create a brief security gap. But the Tyrell discovered them first. Alarms blared throughout the ship. A voice spoke directly into their minds. Unauthorized use of Tyrell technology detected. Security breach in Maintenance Section 8. All units respond. They found us, Sun said. We need to move now. Hyun's enhanced mind raced through options. We stick to the plan but accelerate the timeline. Jin, can you still access the command center controls? Jin nodded, his fingers moving rapidly over a Taral device. Yes, but they're locking down corridors. We have 3 possible routes left. Take Route 2, Hyun decided. Me, alert our people throughout the ship, it's time. Throughout the massive vessel, humans who had been waiting for this signal began their assigned tasks. Some created distractions, others disabled security systems. Many moved to protected areas where they could hide if the operation failed. Hyun led the core team through service tunnels and rarely used corridors. Their enhanced minds allowed them to calculate patrol patterns and avoid detection. They were halfway to the command center when they encountered the first real opposition. 6. Taral elite hunters blocked their path. These were not ordinary guards but specialized capture units with enhanced strength and speed. Dangerous specimens detected, their leader projected into the humans' minds. Surrender for immediate correction. Hyun stepped forward. In the past, his team would have retreated, used stealth and misdirection, but they were done hiding. We are not specimens, Hyun replied, and we will not surrender. The Taral attacked with blinding speed, but to Hyun's enhanced perception, their movements seemed almost slow. He could predict their attacks, see openings, coordinate with his team without speaking. The humans moved as one, using techniques developed from Earth's martial arts. They didn't try to match the Taral's strength. Instead, they used leverage, momentum, and precise strikes to vulnerable points that Jin had identified in Taral anatomy. The fight lasted less than 2 minutes. All 6 hunters lay unconscious. Humans had suffered only minor injuries. Take their weapons, Hyun ordered. Armed with Taral stun devices, the team continued toward the command center. They encountered 2 more security teams, defeating them with the same coordinated tactics. Finally, they reached their target, a circular room filled with control stations. Taral operators looked up in shock as the humans entered. None were armed. These were technicians, not warriors. Step away from the controls, Hyun said. We don't want to hurt you. The Taral hesitated, then complied. They had never seen prey species fight as these humans did. It confused their understanding of the natural order. Jin moved quickly to the main control station. His enhanced mind interfaced with the Taral system at incredible speed. I'm in. Accessing ship-wide communications now. Alarms continued to sound as Taral security forces converged on the command center. But they were too late. Jin had already gained control of internal communications and locked down the approaches to their position. Hyun activated the ship-wide broadcast system. His voice would now reach every corner of the massive vessel. Attention all beings aboard this ship. This is Hyun of Earth. The command center is now under human control. To all humans and allies, the time has come. To all Taral, we offer peace if you stand down. Resist, and you will learn what it truly means to face human determination. Throughout the ship, humans and allied species who had been waiting for this moment began to take action. Areas that the resistance had secretly controlled for months were now openly claimed. Taral who resisted were captured or confined. In the command center, Jin continued his work. I'm accessing the Taral database. There's something you need to see. On the main display appeared images of other Taral ships, dozens of them spread across the galaxy, and coordinates for Earth. They've sent more ships to our world, Mi said, her voice tight with anger. Not just Earth, Jin said. Look at this. There are human captives on at least 5 other Taral vessels, thousands of our people taken during early collection missions. A new alarm sounded. On another display, they saw a massive door opening at the end of a long corridor. From it emerged a Taral unlike any they had seen. Taller, with deep purple skin covered in complex patterns. Behind it followed a group of heavily armed guards. The Supreme Commander, Jin said, accessing the database. The highest authority on this vessel. Hyun watched the display as the Supreme Commander moved purposefully toward the command center. Its mind voice reached them, powerful enough to cause pain. Humans of Earth, You have surprised us. This is unprecedented in the history of our collections. I wish to speak with your leader. Hyun looked at his team. They nodded. Let him approach, Hyun decided. Alone. The Supreme Commander entered the command center minutes later. Its black eyes studied the humans with what might have been respect. In 10,000 years of collecting species, it said, none have ever taken control of a terral vessel. Explain how prey has overcome predator. Hyun stepped forward, meeting those alien eyes without fear. That was your first mistake, he said, thinking we were prey. 2 years had passed since the first terral ships appeared over Earth. In that time, the massive collection vessel had transformed. What was once a prison had become the stage for a revolution unlike any the galaxy had seen before. Hyun stood in the main control center, looking at the curved display that showed the stars outside. Behind him worked humans and aliens of a dozen different species, all focused on their tasks. The command center that they had captured 3 months ago was now the heart of their operation. Mi entered the room, followed by Captain Sun. Both had changed in these 2 years, harder, more focused, but with a new confidence that came from victory after victory. The last section is secure, Mi reported. Deck 47 is now under our control. Hyun nodded. That means we have control of 90% of the ship's critical systems. And the terral? He asked. Most have accepted the new reality, Sun said. The regular workers continue their duties under our supervision. The military units have been contained in their quarters. Only the command staff still resists. This was the pattern they had seen throughout their campaign. Once the humans and their allies showed their strength, most terral simply accepted the change in power. Their society was built on a strict hierarchy. They respected strength, but the Supreme Commander and his inner circle were different. They had retreated to the ship's core, a heavily protected area at the center of the massive vessel. From there, they sent messages to other terral ships, calling for help. Jin entered the command center. His eyes were bright with excitement. It's ready? Hyun looked at his friend. You're sure it will work? Positive, Jin said. I've tested it extensively. The ship-wide override will allow us to broadcast to every terral vessel within range. They'll all hear our message. This was the final step in their plan. Taking control of one ship was just the beginning. They needed to reach the other vessels, where humans were being held captive. Day joined them, carrying a data tablet. For months she had been studying terral psychology and society, looking for weaknesses they could exploit. The terral empire is built on a fundamental lie, she said. Their entire society is structured around the division of predator and prey. If we can expose this lie, we can change how they see us, and all the species they've collected. The Supreme Commander has requested a final meeting, Sun said. He wants to speak with you before we broadcast. Hyun considered this. It's a trap. Almost certainly, Mi agreed. But it's also an opportunity. If we can convince the Supreme Commander, others will follow. The decision was made. Hyun would meet with the Supreme Commander in a neutral area, a large observation deck midway between the command center and the core. Both would bring small security teams. As Hyun prepared for the meeting, he spent time alone, thinking about all that had happened. From that first night on his family's porch in Korea, watching alien ships appear in the sky, to now, leading a revolution against those same aliens. The path had been long and hard, but it had revealed truths about humanity that even humans had forgotten. The observation deck was a vast space with transparent walls that showed the stars outside. The Supreme Commander was already waiting when Hyun arrived with Mi, Sun, and 2 others. The terral leader was flanked by 4 elite guards. Human. The Supreme Commander's mind voice was powerful, but controlled. You have accomplished what no collected species has ever done. You have taken control of a terral vessel. This should be impossible. Hyun met the alien's black eyes steadily. Yet here we are. The Supreme Commander moved closer, studying Hyun with scientific curiosity. I Have one question before this ends. How? How could a species with no natural weapons, no physical advantages overcome the galaxy's apex predators? This was the moment Hyun had been waiting for. The chance to explain what the Terrell had never understood. You made a fundamental mistake, Hyun said. You looked at humans and saw prey because we lack claws and fangs. You categorized Earth as a prey world because your definition of predator is too narrow. The Supreme Commander tilted his head, listening. Earth doesn't raise prey, Hyun continued. It breeds predators, not through physical weapons but through minds shaped by millennia of hunting and survival. Humans became the most dangerous predators on our world, not by being the strongest but by being the smartest. Hyun pointed to the stars visible through the transparent walls. You think of predators in terms of biological weapons, but a true predator is defined by behavior, not biology. Humans don't look like predators because our hunting adaptations aren't physical, they're cognitive and social. We evolved as persistence hunters. We chased prey until they collapsed from exhaustion. We used our intelligence to track, to predict, to understand our prey better than they understood themselves. We developed tools instead of claws, strategy instead of venom. The 18th Supreme Commander was silent, absorbing this. Your mistake was thinking that physical strength defines a predator, Hyun said. But the most successful predator isn't the strongest. It's the one that adapts, that learns, that turns weakness into strength. Throughout Earth's history, our greatest warriors weren't those with the most power, but those with the best strategy. Mai stepped forward. You collected us thinking we were interesting but harmless. You didn't realize you were bringing together the most dangerous minds in the galaxy and giving us a common enemy. Sun added, On Earth we fought each other for thousands of years. We perfected the art of war against ourselves. What chance did you have against that experience? The Supreme Commander's mind voice held a new tone, something like respect. If what you say is true, then our entire understanding of species categorization is flawed. It is, Day said. Your empire is built on a false premise. Think about how many prey species you've collected that might be predators in ways you never recognized. For a long moment, the Supreme Commander was silent. Then, what do you intend now? To destroy us? Hyun shook his head. No, we're not conquerors. We just want our people back, all humans on all Terrell ships, and freedom for any species that wants it. And if we refuse? Hyun's eyes hardened. Then you'll learn what it truly means to become prey. The tension in the room was broken by an alert on Mi's communication device. It's Jin, she said. The broadcast system is ready. Hyun looked at the Supreme Commander. We're going to send a message to every Terrell ship. They'll all know what happened here. What happens next is your choice. The Supreme Commander studied Hyun for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he made a gesture that the humans had learned was a sign of respect among the Terral. In 10,000 years of collection, we have never encountered a species like yours, he said. Perhaps there is much we could learn from each other. Back in the command center, Jin was waiting with the broadcast equipment ready. All Terrell ships within 50 light years will receive this, he said. It will reach Earth in a few months. Hyun took a deep breath and stepped forward. The camera focused on him as he prepared to address the galaxy. To all Terral vessels and all captive species, this is Hyun of Earth. The collection ship Harvest is now under the control of its former captives. The Terral Supreme Commander has recognized our right to freedom. He paused, thinking of Earth and all the humans still held on distant ships. To the Terral Empire. We offer peace and new understanding. Release our people, and we can build a different kind of relationship. Continue to hold them, and you will face the full determination of humanity. To all humans on Terral vessels, stand strong, we're coming for you. Earth hasn't forgotten you. And to Earth, if you can hear us, we're alive, and we're coming home, and we're bringing new friends from across the stars. As the broadcast ended, Hyun looked around at the command center. Humans worked alongside aliens from a dozen worlds, all former prey, who had proven themselves to be so much more. Mi joined him by the window. Together they looked out at the stars. What now? She asked. Now we go find our people, Hyun said, and then we go home. Mi smiled. The Taral thought they were collecting interesting specimens. They had no idea they were creating the galaxy's newest spacefaring civilization. They wanted to study predators, Hyun said, watching as the massive ship changed course, heading toward the coordinates of the nearest Taral collection vessel. I think their education has just begun. The stars stretched before them, no longer, distant and unreachable. Earth's children had been forced into the cosmos as captives. They would return as explorers, having learned perhaps the most important lesson of all. In the great dance of predator and prey that shaped all worlds, adaptation was the true key to survival, and humans were the greatest adapters the galaxy had ever seen.